Hello everyone, my name is Alfred and I am one of the pastoral team members overseeing the worship and music ministry. Now the text for today's midweek devotion is taken from Ephesians chapter 5 verses 21 to 33. Now this is a very popular wedding passage, a text that wedding couples use at their weddings because it talks about the roles of the wife and the husband and how she needs to submit to him and how he needs to love her. But beyond the wedding, I think this is a very important passage for the church because many of us in church are either a husband or a wife. So this passage is primarily for married couples. It is not only for married couples, it is primarily for married couples. But there is much wisdom in this passage that all of us can glean from. And it's not just only for husbands and wives. Now, if you look at the passage more closely, you'll notice that there are two key words, one for the wives, one for the husband. The word submit for the wives and the word love for the husbands. Now these two words, submit and love, are very close to each other in its meaning. They're almost like intertwined. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, submit to your husbands. Now it is easy for wives to submit and husbands to love when everything is rosy and things are running along smoothly. Agree, right? When the husband and the wife are still in honeymoon period and they are so lovey-dovey towards each other and patient with one another, okay, sayang, everything is all good. Wives will find it easy to submit and husbands will find it easy to love. But what happens when the going gets tough? When either the husband or the wife is going through some kind of personal hardship, or when the couple go through some kind of crisis together. What happens when there is conflict between the couple or when one party becomes unreasonable towards the other? That's when it becomes difficult. Wives will find it more challenging to submit to their husband, and then the husband will find it even more challenging to love his wife. Now, there are many possible reasons why couples have conflict with each other. It can be poor communication, perhaps it's differences in opinion of the way to do things, in-laws issues, finances, many things. But the husband and the wife must learn how to manage their emotions and also how to resolve conflict. Now that takes a lot of effort, prayer, and commitment. It also takes a lot of humility and teachability. The common vein for these two words, submit and love, is selflessness. Selflessness. Selflessness is the key characteristic or the essence to submissiveness and to love. Let's unpack this very quickly. What does it mean to submit? Now, to submit basically means to place ourselves below another person, underneath that person. In other words, it is considering the needs of the other person before you consider your own needs. Submissiveness is selflessness because the opposite of submissiveness is selfishness. When we are selfish, we are thinking of ourselves. We are putting our needs before others, and that is selfish. There is no way that a person can be selfless and selfish at the same time. No way. For most of us, if not all of us, we are selfless sometimes and selfish at other times. So really the call is for us to be more and more selfless and less selfish. So wives, learn to be selfless. As the church submits to Christ, so you should submit to your husbands. Now, how about the husband? How should love and selflessness look like for the husband? Now, the text says in verse 25, "Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church." He gave up his life for the church. I paused there for a bit, but those were not my words. It's all part of that verse, that Christ gave up his life for the church. The Son of God demonstrated love, selfless love, by giving up his life for us, the church. Husbands, that's how selfless we actually need to be towards our wives. As I share this, it is a strong reminder for myself to be more selfless towards my wife in the way I love her. So, husbands, come on, guys. Let's all be selfless and love our wives the same selfless way that Christ loves the church. Now, while preparing and reading this text, this key point in verse 26 jumped at me. It says, "Christ gave up his life for the church to make her holy and clean." Now, some of us think that the key to a good marriage is to know how to make our spouse happy. Or a good marriage is all about being happy. Have you ever wondered, what if God designed marriage for us not to be happy, but to be holy? Verse 25 and 26 says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave his life for her to make her holy." The book Sacred Marriage by Gary Thomas suggests that God's primary intent for our marriage isn't to make us happy, but holy. The primary purpose of marriage is to make us holy, and to have healthy marriages that we are happy in, where we can grow deeper in love and demonstrate selfless love and submissiveness to one another. Now, while this passage is primarily aimed at husband and wives, I also believe that there is an important lesson for us as a church. Even if you are not a husband or a wife, regardless of whether we are single or divorced, now, there's so many parts of Scripture that teaches us to love, to show love, to have love for one another. To love sincerely, we need to love our enemies. We need to regard the weak. We need to care for the poor and the needy, to act justly, and to show mercy. Those are ways for us to show love. And that's what Scripture teaches us. But Scripture also teaches us to submit to one another in love and to consider others better than ourselves. So, church, let us learn. Let's learn to be selfless, to love one another, and to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. God bless you.